On today's video, we're going to be discussing a very important topic in the agile space, right? I've been sent an email, I've been asked this question a lot. Aisha, what happened to my spillover? Do I change the estimate? Do I keep the estimate? What do I do with all of the stories? Do I just put it to the backlog? Or what happened to those stories that we cannot close? And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you all what happened to estimates and what determines what you give to an estimate and where does those stories go after they cannot be completed within a sprint. And welcome back to Aisha Scrum platform. I am very happy to have you all again today. And I've been so appreciative of you all liking, sharing, and watching my videos. And for all these new subscribers, I'm very happy to have you all again back in my platform. And one more thing also, I'm going to be showing you all how to close a sprint. All right, so let's start, right? So looking at this, if you recall in our previous videos, right, I show you all how to create a project from scratch. I show you all how to start the Scrum project, how to write user story, how to create epic, how to do an estimate using the planning poker, how to create a label, how to track dependency and creating dashboard, and also how to flag a ticket to bring issues or alarming for your team. And today I'm going to show you what happened to tickets we can complete in a sprint, and also how to close a sprint. All right, so the first thing we're going to be discussing is, let's say we are in daily Scrum, and today is the last daily Scrum before our sprint close by in the afternoon, sometimes in the afternoon or in the evening, depending on what time or when your company close your sprint. Because people are like, okay, Aisha, so when do we actually close the sprint? What time and specific do we close your sprint? It's up to your company. It's up to your team. So if you're part of a team, that your team would agree for you to close your sprint at the end of the day, which I will hope, right? Because then you give your team members the whole day for them to actually work and complete last minute stuff. And in that case, for sure, you'll have it closed by the end of the day. And for a Scrum Master, it is very, very important, very, very important for us to have a date and time we close our sprint. Time is very, very important. Let's say that we have a day in our sprint starts on Wednesdays and it ends on a Tuesday. Everyone knows the sprints end on a Tuesday, right? But then it's very important for everyone in the team, leadership, management, stakeholder, everyone should know the exact time your sprint close, right? It's very important. And you as a Scrum Master is something that you should continue to remind your team, not on the day of, but days that will lead up to you closing your sprint. So let's say we close our sprint on a Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. before people end up work at 5. And that's something you should be transparent about, right? You tell everyone, oh, our sprint ends on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. So on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m., everyone knows in the team that the sprint closed. That's one thing I should mention, because it's something I've seen a lot, that people will ask Scrum Masters, oh, what time do your sprint close? Oh, I don't know. It's something that is good to know. It's very important. So now, looking at this backlog, right? I'm coming into this daily Scrum on the last day of this sprint, and I see that we have 0 tickets in to do. I can see that from this color coded up here. We have 11 story points in progress, and we have 7 story points that have been completed in this sprint. Hopefully, you're one of those Scrum Master, you don't wait till the last day of the sprint for you to start discussing potential spillover, right? It's very important for you as a Scrum Master, when you're looking at your backlog, and let's go to the Scrum board view. And in the Scrum board view, up here at the top, it says 0 days remaining, right? And that means it's the last day of the sprint. The sprint should close by today. And you already see that you have 11 story points that have not been completed, right? You can't wait till the day of the sprint closing and start saying, okay, team, what happened to all of these, our stories that have not been completed, right? You don't do that. Instead, you start this conversation, hopefully 4 days ago, by asking the team members, oh team, I see we have this ticket in progress, and it's a 5 story point. And I've been asking about this task and I see it in progress. So how confident are you we can able to close this task before the sprint close within the next 3 days? You see? So by you asking all these questions, you can get your team to also start, reminding them for them to know that, the sprint is about to close. And also, we have 3 more days remaining or 4 more days remaining. The testers, they will have time to start doing their testing yet. It's still not even in their hand. So how confident are you can complete that? And the tester will also have a time to do their testing and for this story to be completed within the date of the sprint. So by us asking this powerful question early on, can hopefully get these team members to start thinking about, okay, time's not on our side anymore. We have to either discuss what's going to happen and discuss further ways how we can help this situation, if it's going to be closed or not. And let's say that looking at this ticket that's flagged, right? And it's 3 days remaining. I'm not talking about the last day today. And there's 3 days remaining, and I see this ticket is flagged. And hopefully you that Scrum Master that's following up with that flag ticket, not only during daily Scrum, but you're following up even offline. Oh, I noticed that we have this flag ticket in our board and it's assigned to you and so. How is that going? Did we resolve that flag issue? Or what else can we do? Are you confident? Because we only have so and those remaining in this sprint. So you start this conversation early on ahead of time, because you don't want to wait till the last day of the day that the sprint closes. You're like, okay, team, looking at our board, we have all of these stories. So what's going to happen? You don't want to start solution at that moment of the last day. Instead, you start ahead of time and have this early on discussion as a team. Because if you can have this discussion, it can help you all know how to plan for your backlog refinement and how to plan for your sprint planning, and also start thinking about availability in the upcoming sprint. And today is the last day of the sprint. And looking at our board, we have 11 story points that's not been completed. And our next sprint, what's going to happen to all of these stories? And the first thing I would like to do, I always like to go over, I'm not even calling people's name or all of that. I just want all of us as a team to brainstorm ways how we can solve all of this issue or this potential spillover tickets. And today is the last day of the sprint. I'm not saying potential spillovers anymore. I make that comment potential if I have 3 days remaining. But on the day of the sprint closing, then automatically we know that this is going to be spillover. Let's say this 1 story point starts, the developer will be like, oh, Aisha, this is something I'm going to be completing by the end of the day today, before the sprint close, right? But this is daily Scrum time. So they might have the whole day. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll follow up on that. And let's say this tester will tell me that, oh, Aisha, I'm working on this. There's a high chance that this is going to be a spillover. And that's something going to have warranty for conversation. And we have this ticket in progress at a 5 story point. And this developer is saying that this is going to be a spillover. There is no way we can able to complete this by the end of the day today. So then the question you're going to be asking as a Scrum Master to follow up is that, okay, so this ticket is a 5 story point and it's a spillover. What are the challenges you face with this story? And you're asking them, right? You can't just say, oh, yes, it's a spillover. Well, we are closing this sprint and we're just moving all those tasks to the next sprint. That's very wrong, right? You should always have the conversation about this spillover ticket. People stick to the next sprint. What if you didn't address the root cause of the issue itself? So that becomes the same thing that happened in this sprint will happen again in the next sprint. Because why? You didn't address the problem. So that's why it's very, very important for you to address the issue right now. So hopefully then you will even determine, is it even something that we're going to be putting in sprint 2, right? Right now we're in sprint 1, looking at up here, it says sprint 1. So is this something, this ticket that's already flagged, it's a 5 story point, is it something that's even required for us to even put in sprint 2, where we didn't even basically discuss the root cause of the issue itself? So that's a question I'm asking the team. And like, oh no, we don't know yet. There's still more issue needed. We need more data. We need to follow up on this. But then again, I see the label says dependency. I'm also asking, is the dependency clear? Hopefully it is, right? Yes, the dependency is clear. Perfect. So now the dependency is clear, but it's just some kind of technical issue that we're having difficulty in solving this task. So that's something for sure I already know in my head that I am putting directly to the backlog. I am not going to be committing to that task in sprint 2. Why? Because the problem is not going to be solved in sprint 2. Because the developers themselves, they don't know. And that's possible. If they don't know, we can discuss that. That is not going to be happening. That's something I'm putting back to the product backlog until we can further understand or further learn. If something that's very important, it's a priority, then we are scheduling extra meeting with other team members or any other people that can help my team or assist us, or maybe an engineering manager that can help us assist us or escalate this issue if needed, if it's that of the important. But I'm not just going to move that to the next sprint, because why? It is not clear. And the root cause of the issue, it's not discussed and it's not open. And there's a high chance the team members do not have confidence we can complete that task. So that's something I'm putting back to the product backlog. So that's already been cleared up. So now I look at the tickets in sprints, and the next ticket that's given 5 story points. And this developer, this quality analyst, this is in testing, right? Told me that Aisha, later on, let's say it's the end of the day, right? And this quality analyst told me that, oh, Aisha, I thought I was able to complete these tasks of the 5 story points, but guess what? I am unable to complete these tasks. I thought I was able to be done with this testing and stuff, but I'm still unable to complete it. I only have a little bit more worth of a day worth of the work remaining, or half a day worth of work remaining. In that case, unfortunately, it's going to be a spillover, right? Because we can't close a ticket because someone said that it's halfway done or it's only a little bit left. This ticket, all these stories we have in our board must meet the definition of done. It must meet the definition of done for us to be able to close our tasks. You can't just close something and just because someone told you that it's only a little tiny bit work remaining. Other thing that I see a lot in teams is that developers will share the tickets. Let's say that ticket has already been completed. They will have it, okay, part 1. They will call it part 1 and part 2. They will give part 1, they will change the estimate to 0, 0 or 1 story points. And for that ticket, they'll basically reduce the estimate and close the ticket. That's also an anti-padding. So you are telling me that ticket itself that you are closing is done when we all know that there's still some leftover work remaining that you plan to complete in the next sprint. So that task itself did not meet the definition of done. And we all know that for us to close the ticket, it must meet the definition of done. So that's a task that what I've done actually in this situation is true that's going to be a spillover, right? And it's a 5 story point, and that's a lot to be spilling over, and that will definitely affect our velocity, right? It's true in this sprint, this velocity will be so low for this sprint, because why? We are spilling over 11 story points worth of work, right? And in the next sprint, I am not reducing the estimate. Why is that? Because it's going to balance out. This sprint can be low, which is fine, right? But in the next sprint, I'm expecting for us to even complete way above our velocity. Because why is that? Because these tickets, the velocity that we didn't account for in this sprint, we can account for it in the next sprint. And you only can do that if you do not reduce the estimate for that sprint. But then again, some of you will be like, oh, Aisha, this tester already said that they only have 1 story point remaining for this task. How can you get them to commit to 5 story points for the next sprint when it's only 1 story point remaining worth of work? Instead, what I've done, I have a book. That's something that's very important, right? In that user story, what I've done is I will write that we're carrying over 5 story points and I'll equal it to 1 story point worth of work. So during our overall, looking at how much we can commit to as a team, I am putting in my mind, I'm only accounting for 1 story point for that task in my head, in my book. But in the Jira software, you're going to see that it's 5 story points. But then again, I'm telling my team the actual remaining for that sprint. Why? Because I want my team to take the credit of the work. So that I'm not going to change the estimate to 1. Then guess what? That means in this sprint, we did account for the work. And the next sprint, we only accounted for 1. And that doesn't look good in our velocity. Later on, it's going to average out because why? We always take up to 5 sprints worth of work for us to get our team average velocity, just for things like this. So in my book, I'm putting 5 story points equal 1, because why? I believe this quality analyst that told me that it's only 1 day remaining worth of work. And although in our upcoming sprint, it's going to look like a 5 story points, but instead, I'm telling my team members that, okay, although it looks like it's 5 story points, but it's only 1 story point worth of work remaining. So we can still take up to four more story points more for in this sprint. So basically, you're going to look like on our overall commitment for the upcoming sprints. I expect for our story point to be higher. Because why that? Because our spillover and plus our availability for that sprint going to now account for the overall story that we say we're going to be completing for that sprint. So although in this sprint, our velocity will be low, hopefully if we complete our tasks in the upcoming sprint, plus our spillover all being completed, the velocity is going to come right back up and it's going to balance out. So that's my take when it comes to that. So that's when it comes to spillover and reducing estimates, deciding what estimates. It depends on how much work is remaining. So let's say like this one that have 5 story points, and there's still a lot more work that's remaining. We are still carrying over that work. And if they even have an idea about the work, if they don't have an idea about the work, I'm putting it back to the backlog, because it's very important for us to have that transparency with the work and understanding. Or if they continue to follow up with their research with the work, they even want to turn it to a spike ticket to further do a research, then that's still fine. But then again, if your company is going to estimate spike or not, that's a whole different conversation we'll have later. So that's my take on spillover. Always don't reduce the estimate to the point that your team can take credit for the work. But instead, you can definitely reduce the estimate in your book, right? And then your team can commit to more in the upcoming sprint if it's warranted for, and then they can get their estimate. And let's say that this work actually in testing still needs a lot more work. I'll still ask them how much more average they can give their estimate, how much more work remaining. They can say, oh, 3 story points remaining. Then I'll still ask them to take extra work of 2 other story points, just for us to balance back for our next coming sprint. So that's that for spillover. And now that I'm going to be closing my sprint, I'm going to be moving all of these tasks to the backlog. So for me to close the sprint, let me show you guys how to close the sprint. At the top here, it's saying complete sprint. And sometimes it's very important to know that you might not have the access to close or start a sprint. I think I've said that in my previous videos. And sometimes one time I had someone telling me that, oh, Aisha, I cannot close my sprints. It's not showing me the icon of closing a sprint. And my next question was like, okay, do you have multiple Scrum board in your projects? Sometimes you can have multiple Scrum board in under one program board, right? And they might have an arrow at the top. And if it highlights like multiple that board, it will not show you your own team's board. So you have to click under that arrow and click on your team name before you can see this complete sprint icon or how many days remaining in your sprint. So always check out for that before you start sending emails saying that you don't know how to close your sprints cannot close. So that's that for closing a sprint. And to close your sprints, and hopefully you have to give the time, and you also talk to your team and alert them and let them know. You can just close your sprint without communicating. I always like to send a message and tell my team, okay, team, I'm closing this team sprint right now. And for those of you that said you had the last minute closing of your tasks, please close them because I'm about to close the sprints. And reach out to those people too, personally, if they have to, and let them know we close the sprint. And then as everybody's good, everyone is fine, then I go to complete sprint. So, and one thing about Jira, right? If you click on complete sprint, it tells you like, okay, in this sprint, we have 3 completed issues, meaning that we completed 3 issues. That means this now is not a story point, they're counting. They count the number of tickets, the number of issue type in your board, whether it's stories and tags, bug, it's just counting it all as issue count, not story points. So it counted that you have 3 completed issues in this sprint, and we have 3 open issues. The open issues meaning that it's not been completed. So Jira is asking you now, what do you do about the move open issue to. So Jira is asking me, what do we do to the issues that have not been completed, which is the spillover that I was discussing before. That's why it's very important you have this conversation prior with your team member and knowing which one go where and how you're going to go about all this spillover before you, the Scrum Master, you come to close your sprint. So now it's telling you, move this issue to, so they have a drop-down arrow. They have more options here. So these 3 open issues that were not completed. So what do I do with it? So I click down the drop-down arrow. So had it been I created a sprint 2, it's going to show up here. Or if your company have multiple other sprints open, it's going to show you like a list of multiple other sprints you want to move it. Or if you want to move it to the backlog. And for my case, I'm definitely plan to move all my tags to the backlog. Although I know one of them, I'm going to be pulling it back to the new sprint I'll be creating. The one issue, the one that the tester is working on, and the other one that the tester said that they'll complete. And there's only one of them that will remain in the backlog. I'll move them all either to my next sprint, where I plan to work on the ones that is going to be completed on, and I'll now remove the other one and put it to the backlog. But in my case, I'll put it to the backlog. And I'll say move it to the backlog. That's the best practice actually too, is to move them all to the backlog, even though we already have this conversation in there. The best practice is always to move them all to the backlog. And then during sprint retrospective, we'll also retrospect about this, right? Always about spillover is something that you should always discuss as a team, what happened, why we got there. And also in refinements, you now decide on which ones you're going to pull to the next sprint. And sprint planning, you now finalize all those plannings. So then after the backlog, then I hit complete sprint. All right, so now that I've completed the sprint, sometimes if you hit complete sprint at work, it's going to ask you if you want to create a retrospective template. It's common if your company's Confluence is connected to your Jira. It's going to ask you if you want to link your Confluence to your Jira. And if it asks you that, then of course you can, if you do use Confluence for your retrospective, you can hit yes, and you now create the Confluence for your retrospective, which is very easy to do that way. But sometimes too, you might just close it. When you close your sprint, it's going to also show you the sprint reports. And the sprint reports will tell you everything that happened in the sprint. I plan to show you all later on the metric of the sprint report, how to interpret it, and what to discuss during your review. If you have to present it in your sprint review, I know some people do present metrics in their review. Then you can discuss all of that. But now that I have all of this in the backlog, then during backlog refinements as a team, we'll just go over and further discuss that and determine what's going to happen to those items we can complete or not. And the estimate, we can now readjust it and add it for our upcoming sprint. What about if the estimate is something that we overestimated? It shouldn't have been a 5-story point, and the team member will be like, Aisha, that particular task was actually doing what all of that estimates, right? In the upcoming sprint, I think it's best for us to reduce the estimate. Then for sure, 100%, you should reduce the estimate. If the developer tell you that they think they overestimated the task, and it's something that do not warranty for that much estimate, then of course in the next sprint, you should definitely adjust it to the estimate they think it's right. And people again will be like, oh, Aisha, how come it should be a lesser estimate when the task didn't even complete in the whole 2 weeks of sprint? But then again, remember, not because you have a story in a sprint, meaning that they are working on that story for the whole sprint. For all I know, some tasks can be in the to-do column, while the developer will be working on some other tasks in the backlog. And by the time they pick up on the second task in the to-do column, it's already maybe like only 3 or 4 days remaining in the sprint, or 2 days worth remaining for the sprint. And then they start doing the work and realize that, oh, it's not as challenging as we thought. It's not as complex as we thought. So I think for the next sprint, although it's a spillover, we didn't get a time to complete it, but I think the estimate of a 5 or a 8 is too much for this task. Then of course you should reduce the estimate, because why? We want to be honest with our work and want to be so transparent with our work. So it's very, very important. And not that is something, because something is committed to in a particular time of a sprint, meaning that everything will be in progress at the same time. Because one person can have 2 or 3 tickets they plan to work on in the whole sprint. They might complete 1 or 2, and in the last ticket, they might not get the time to complete that, which is very, very common at work, and I've seen that multiple times. So it's very, very important that I mention this also when it comes to spillover, reducing estimates, keeping estimates, and determining how to go about all of this. It is very important. If you notice about all I'm saying about is that conversation, right? The communication within the team. Very, very important. And I hope all of this my Jira training video have been so valuable to you all. In my next Jira training, I'm going to show you all how to do a quick search on your JQL, how to do one search with showing all your tags, on the debug tags only, future tags only, epic tags only. I'm going to show you all how to do all those JQL, hopefully in my next video. And if you miss all my Jira training videos, I'm going to post the playlist from starting from the beginning all the way to the end about spillover, about everything about Jira that I've been showing you all in this board. And thank you very much for watching all my videos. I truly appreciate you all. And for my new subscribers, I welcome you all. And my old subscriber, everyone, you all have been so nice. Watching all my videos till the end, I definitely saw a huge difference in my number of hours watch time. I can't even believe I only have 200 more hours remaining. And thanks to you all definitely took your time to watch my video. And all my silent followers, I also thank you all. I know a lot of you do that. You silently like watching my video, liking, subscribing, and share. I appreciate you all, to be honest. I really, really mean it. And I hope to see you all again in my next Jira training video. Have a wonderful day and see you all again next time.